Could DeMar DeRozan be coming to the Kings? Woj reporting that DeMar is done with Chicago. He's out of there. He doesn't want to be there. The Josh Giddey trade was the last straw. And so Woj is reporting that the Kings are kind of the front runners right now, but there are other options for DeMar, but right now the Kings are in pole position to land DeRozan. But it also seems like the Kings are in pole position to land a lot of players. But DeRozan is the only one of those players that is a free agent. So that probably makes it more likely. Because by all reporting, it seems like the Kings are either in like first or second place for Markkanen, if they even trade him, which I don't think they are, and I don't think they're trading him to the Kings. I just don't see that happening. But the Kings are in first position to get Ingram, probably in first position to get Kuzma. Pretty much the Kings just are going to acquire someone, and so that probably puts them at the number one position for all these guys because other teams may just not make a trade. But I personally would love DeMar DeRozan on the Kings because what the Kings need is talent. And is DeMar the perfect fit? No, he's not. He's not the perfect fit. I mean, you're going to be hard pressed to actually find someone who perfectly fits on the Kings. You would have to get a Victor Wembanyama, a Chet Holmgren, Jaren Jackson Jr. type of player for a perfect fit. But DeMar's probably not even like the second tier of great fits, I guess I would say. But I do think he is a good fit because he is someone that's going to get to the free throw line a lot. He's someone that is just a killer in the mid range, and he can shoot the three ball. He's not a great shooter from behind the arc, but in the past about 5 years, he's pretty much been increasing his 3-point attempts every single year. And he's a creator. He can go score by himself with the ball in his hands. And I think that's something the Kings need more of. And like I said, they just need more talent, especially on the offensive end. And so what I see DeRozan slotting into Harrison Barnes's spot. And no, DeRozan is not the shooter that Barnes is. And we've seen the relationship between Barnes and Sabonis work really well on the dribble handoff and Barnes coming off and shooting threes. And that's great. And Barnes has just been a great catch and shoot shooter. But the real reason that I think the Kings offense took a dive last year compared to the year before is because Harrison Barnes stopped attacking the rim, getting to the rim, drawing fouls, and scoring for himself when the Kings offense went stagnant. And that's something that DeMar DeRozan can absolutely bring. So I think when you're looking at it from purely an offensive fit perspective, I think he's a good enough 3-point shooter. I dove into his 3-point numbers a little bit. He shot almost 34% on about 3 attempts per game last season. And really what stuck out to me was his 3-point percentage when off the catch and shoot, but really in situations where it's in the middle of the shot clock. So he wasn't good shooting off the dribble, and he wasn't good shooting early and late in the shot clock, but his percentage went way up into the mid 40s when it was between the 7 and 15-second mark of the shot clock. And he was solid off the catch and shoot in those situations. And so I think that's really all the Kings would need from him in terms of 3-point shooting, and then everything else that he provides offensively I think is perfect because the Kings just would get stuck into chucking a lot of threes, and the Kings still have enough 3-point shooting around both DeMar and Sabonis to make it work. And Sabonis shot well on 1 attempt per game, and DeMar's enough of a shooter. And so it's like, yeah, you have two guys who maybe are a little reluctant to shoot threes, but they can still shoot threes, and then 3 other guys surrounding him who definitely can shoot threes at a good rate. And so I think that works really well. The defensive end is another question, but I think if you are just inserting him for Harrison Barnes, then, I mean, you're not going to fall off. I don't think, I think DeRozan can do what Harrison Barnes did, at least defensively. And so I'm not really worried about that end because I think if you have Fox, Keon Ellis, if he starts, Keegan Murray as your 3 at the point of attack, then I think you're going to be okay defensively, at least okay. Because I think if you bring in DeRozan, it's not going to cost you a lot. And so you can still bring in other guys, whether that is just kind of depth wings, athletic defensive wings, or if it is a guy like Kyle Kuzma, because if you're trading for DeMar DeRozan, it's probably going to be Kevin Huerter going out because the Bulls, it's reported that they like Kevin Huerter, but it also gets interesting because the Bulls don't want to take back salary because of the tax. And so I would assume it's something like Kevin Huerter going to the Bulls, DeMar going to the Kings, and then maybe another player going to a third team, plus like some seconds from the Kings or something like that. I don't know. It's kind of tough to come up with these trades because I with signing trades it's kind of hard to judge value, and so I'll let people smarter than me come up with the mock trades, but something can definitely be worked out. And then the Kings would still have Harrison Barnes' contract, and they could still go out and get a guy like Kyle Kuzma with a couple of first round picks. I don't know. I don't think they would really be able to go out and get a guy like Brandon Ingram or Markkanen anymore if they go get DeRozan, but I think Kuzma could still be an option. And so I think when you look at that, like what if your starting lineup is Fox, Keegan, DeRozan, Kuzma, Sabonis? And then you have Malik off the bench, Keon Ellis off the bench, Alex Len, Trey Lyles. That lineup is such an upgrade, in my opinion, from what the Kings were running in the past. And I think that lineup has three guys that can create for themselves in Fox, DeRozan, and Kuzma. You have Sabonis, who's going to be creating for others the entire time. And then you have Keegan, who can just keep sitting on the perimeter, shooting and doing what he needs to do. And, I don't know, I kind of talked about it could maybe stagnate his growth a little bit if you're putting the ball in other guys' hands. But I think if you're asking Keegan to be the fourth, fifth option, that's still okay. And he can continue to progress and you're just not relying on him to create off the dribble as much. And so I think DeRozan is a perfect fit, even if you don't get a guy like Kyle Kuzma. It's an upgrade because you probably aren't trading Harrison Barnes, but I think DeRozan is still going to replace Harrison Barnes' spot because you can afford to lose Kevin Huerter because you have other guys that are able to start in the 2 guard spot, and then DeRozan can slide up, play the 3-4 with Keegan there. It's not the biggest lineup, and you don't have the most defensive guys in the front court, but I think you just got to use that to your advantage offensively, and the Kings have to get back to where they were offensively, because after that the first season of being good, right? It was league leading offense, but bad defense. And the thought was you just need to get to like league average defensively. Well, the Kings got to league average defensively. And if they can maintain that league average defense while getting back to where they were offensively, that's going to lead them to being top 6 in the Western Conference. DeRozan is 34, right? He's older. He's going to command, I think the number was between 20 to 25 million a year. I don't know how many years he would be looking for. Maybe 3. I mean, he probably wants 4. It would be nice if it was just 3. Like, he is older, but he finished second, I think, right? In clutch player of the year voting last year to Steph Curry. He still can score the ball with the best of them in the league. And I think the way I'm thinking is if you're replacing Harrison Barnes, you're not going to get worse defensively just from that straight up swap. And I think you can only get better offensively. Because if you were to watch the way DeRozan plays and the way Barnes plays, you would think the ages were swapped. Barnes 32, DeRozan 34. You would think they were swapped. And so I'm not really worried about age here. And I think the Kings just need more talent. And hopefully as the years would go on in a contract for DeRozan, you would rely more and more on Keegan Murray to step up, or you would go and acquire other talent, like I said, with a Kyle Kuzma or others to go along with the rest of the Kings core. And so the hope would be that DeRozan would need to do less and less as the years went on. I think this rumor is the rumor that I'm most excited about because it's the rumor that I most believe will happen. And I think it's a really good fit. Because sure, the Markkanen rumor, that would be exciting if I thought it had any chance of happening. The Brandon Ingram rumor, I think there's some possibility it could happen, so it's a little bit exciting. But the DeRozan one feels the most likely, and it feels like the Kings always have Kuzma on the back burner. Like, if all else fails, we'll just go get Kuzma. But just imagine the combination of De'Aaron Fox, Malik Monk, and DeRozan in clutch time. Like, Fox wasn't as good last year in the clutch as he was when he won Clutch Player of the Year, but he still is that guy. And the Kings struggled in the clutch, so adding a guy like DeRozan would really help that. And really, another thing about this that makes me excited is just how little it would probably cost the Kings to go out and get him because he is a free agent. And so it would leave them flexibility to go make other moves, because if you go for a Markkanen or a Brandon Ingram, you're going to be spending all your assets. And so a guy like DeMar DeRozan can, I think, provide what you need while allowing you flexibility to go out and fill the other holes on the roster at some point. Maybe it's not right now when they would fill those holes, but at some point at the trade deadline or in the next year. So anyways, that's the latest rumor in the Sacramento Kings offseason. There have been plenty of rumors. It's a new rumor every day. I mean, we heard this one a little bit before today, but that now Woj is really reporting on it. It feels like the possibility of a move coming within the next day or two is pretty high, because the free agent deals are going to start to become official, and that means trades will become official. We saw with the Mikal Bridges trade, that one get expanded a bit, and then, it's going to become official. And so other trades are going to start to happen and become official in this time period. It doesn't have to happen now, a trade, but with a guy like DeRozan, who's a free agent, you would assume it would happen earlier than a trade for a guy who isn't a free agent, because, I mean, DeRozan, he needs somewhere to be. I doubt he's just going to want to be sitting there in free agency. So hopefully something does happen soon. But at least we got Kings basketball to look forward to if something doesn't. Summer League starting up. The Kings playing 2 games tomorrow. The Kings B team playing in San Francisco, and then the A team playing in Sacramento. I'll be there for the A team in Sacramento on Saturday. So I'm probably going to post this and then right after it, or maybe I'll wait until tomorrow morning, but I'm going to be recording a Summer League episode. It's disappointing that Devin Carter's not going to be there, because that was definitely a big part of the excitement, but Keon Ellis is playing, Colby Jones playing, a few other guys, so still excited. We got Drew Timme on the roster, which I'm excited to watch him, so I'll be talking about some expectations, what to look for in those games, and I'll drop that either later tonight on Friday or early on Saturday. So I'll see you guys then. Peace.